Hey everyone, so today's the day we're going to talk about eyebrows. I find eyebrows one of the most challenging things to do in makeup. Sometimes I'm really good at it, sometimes I'm really bad at it. So I kind of have a love-hate relationship with my eyebrows. As you can see in recent weeks, I've kind of waxed half of them off because I was kind of getting really annoyed with them and they were getting too heavy and dark, and I don't know, I just was like, you know what, I want to get rid of them. Anyway, so this is what we're left with. I usually shape my eyebrows about every fortnight just because I like them a certain way, and they tend to get really unruly because I have really thick eyebrows. And I can see at the moment too, there's a few little stray ones creeping back in there, but we'll deal with that in a minute. So first of all, I'm just going to show you a couple of things that I use when I'm doing eyebrows, and I can actually see that I've forgotten something, so I'm going to go grab that and then I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so pretty sure I've got everything I need right now, but we'll just crack on. Okay, so I've got some clear eyebrow gel just to keep them in place while I put the colour on them. I've got an eyebrow eyelash comb. A lot of people use these. I'm kind of a tweezers person, but this is actually an eyebrow razor. You can use it to like shape down and stuff like that, but I'm not very good at it, so I tend to not use them very much. I've got an eyebrow pencil in medium, and it's got a spoolie on the end. Sorry everybody, my throat's really horrible today. I've got a nude, well, semi-nude. It's like a light brown, what is this? Eyebrow pencil. I just use it to mark up the shape before I start, and you'll see what I mean by marking up the shape in a minute. I've got an angled brush. That's just for like, if I make any mistakes, which is highly likely, I can just dip it into my concealer pan, which is here. I mean, this is my oldest concealer pan. You can see it's looking pretty tired and pretty old, but I've still got one pan left there. So if we make any mistakes, we can just go over it with concealer, and that way when I do foundation and everything later on, which will be in another video, those mistakes will be all covered up. Then I've got a little compact with eyebrow powder in it. Not sure if you can see that, but there's 3 different types of brown. It goes from a light brown through to a medium brown and then a dark brown. It comes with this little tiny brush. It's just an angled brush. I like my eyebrows to be darker towards the tail end and to gradually fade off lighter towards the nose. So I usually start off with the dark powder at this end, and then I move through to the medium and the lightest powder, and it kind of fades off that way. And last of all, in my little cup of magic tricks here, tweezers. Tweezers for shaping, and also once you draw in like your foundation line, I don't know, but like your starting line, which is your baseline for the shape of your eyebrows, if there's anything kind of outside of that shape that's not looking great, you can just tweezer it off. And I can see even ones now that I'm just itching to get in there with the tweezers. But you know what? We're going to wait. Okay, first step. We're going to take our eyebrow brush. Mine has a little bit of wax on it because I don't know if you noticed, but in the eyebrow kit, there's like this yellow pan which is kind of wax, which I think is meant to like shape the eyebrows. But I just found that it didn't work as well as the brow gel, so I kind of stopped using that. But anyway, so what I just do is I just brush the hairs up to lift them a bit, and you can kind of see the start of the shape appearing down that way, and you can kind of see that it follows the brow bone. The light's not very good in this video, but anyway. So you might be able to see this one better. We're just gonna brush it up. Hi, Clodagh. She's just come into the room and she's looking really awkward. Oh, you found it. Fantastic. Stuck to your iPad. Okay. It must have been underneath it. Yeah. So Clodagh's just discovered diamond painting. Yep. And we lost the little silicone square yesterday, but happily we've discovered it. Anyway, moving on to eyebrows. So you can see here where my brow bone goes down that way. That's going to be important later on when we start penciling in shapes and stuff. So I'm just going to kind of angulate that little tail bit there, because I like mine to go quite sharply up and then down. Now, I can't wait any longer. I've got to do it. Tweezers. I've got all these little stray hairs just here that are too fine for you to see, but I've got to get them off. So I'm just tweezering them off, because later on when I do eyeshadow over the top of them, they're going to be really obvious, and I can't have that. I'm a bit OCD perfectionist, and I can't deal with that situation. So I'm just stretching the skin and then I'm just tweezering them off. Yep, that's better. Have we got any on this side? No, it's always that side. I don't know if everyone else finds this, but there's always one side that is better than the other, and I've got one side that's lower than the other. Can you see that that eyebrow's lower than this one? Anyway, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start to mark up. Now, when I first started doing makeup seriously, I watched a lot of YouTube videos, and a lot of people were doing this. It just makes it easier to get everything in proportion and to get both of them to kind of look the same, if you know what I mean. Because sometimes I have one that's really good and one that's absolutely crazy, and it looks like two different people have done it. I don't know. Anyway, so I don't know what the technical explanation of doing this is. I'm still going through my makeup artistry certificate and I haven't gotten to eyebrows yet. But you know what? I'm just going to explain what I do. So I've taken my light brown nude pencil and I just kind of take the tip and I draw a line down what I think is the middle. What I think is the middle. It's not looking too straight this morning, but you know what? We're going to go with it. Okay. It just gives a bit like a mirror image, so you can kind of tie the two sides together. And then I take the pencil tip and I put it at the corner of my nose here. And I just push it up. And that's where the eyebrow is going to start. And we'll do that on the other side as well. So we've got our three marks. We've got the middle one and we've got the start of each eyebrow on each side. Now it gets a tiny little bit trickier. We're going to mark where the eyebrow arches. And how we do that is we put the pencil again beside our nose, but now we're going to angle it so that it goes diagonally almost through the pupil. And where that pencil hits is, I'm kind of making it a bit more exaggerated so that you can see, that's where the eyebrow's going to hit its highest point and then start to decline back this way towards the ear. So I'm going to do this side as well. Now you're going to see how different they can end up. Oh, this one's not wanting to work today. Don't you love that? Okay, so as you can see, this one's way more angled and this one's a bit more vertical. Doesn't matter. So now we're going to mark where the tail of the eyebrow is going to end. This will also determine, if you watched my previous video on the extended cut crease, where we're going to tape up our line for eyeshadow later on. But that's another video, and also after this video on eyeshadow, it will probably progress into another, this video on eyebrows, it'll progress into another eyeshadow video maybe, and then I'll just go through my makeup routine, and then when I do special eye looks, like different ones like smoky eyes and half cut creases and stuff like that, I'll record those as well. I haven't decided whether I'll do a second extended cut crease yet, but I'll just play that by ear. Anyway, so again, we're putting the pencil against the corner of our nose, but we're going to angle it so far now that it's heading towards the hairline. So that's where the tail of our eyebrow is going to end, like it'll come across here and then it'll decline down that way and stop at that line there. So we're going to do another one on this side and we're going to have it about here. So as you can see, like I was saying before, you can see the gap between these two lines here is much further than that one. But I think it just depends on face shape and stuff like that. Anyway, I'm going to grab my medium brown eyebrow pencil now. And I'm just going to start penciling in that line that's going to determine where everything goes. Now, this is a wind-up one, but you can use whatever you prefer. So I'm actually going to start, which doesn't seem to make sense at first, but it will later on. I'm going to actually start at that peak point because that's where it's going to be at its highest and then decline this way. So I'm going to just pop my pencil point on that line there, and I'm just going to start to, using small strokes, just extend down towards that finishing line that we drew. And you can see the shape starting to appear where, like, we've got the rise, the peak, and then the decline towards the end. Now we're just going to go do this one. So we're putting the point of our pencil again on that peak line, and we're just going to decline it towards our finishing line, like so. Again, you can see the shape starting to appear, and I'm pretty happy with that. Now we're going to start filling in the middle. What I usually do, and I'm kind of going to look in my mirror here because it's a little bit blurry on the screen, I just kind of have a look if there's any areas within this region from the start to middle that needs like filling in. I don't know about anyone else, but I kind of have a few like gaps in my eyebrow hairs. So I usually try to make the line cover those areas up. So what we're going to do is I'm going to find a point just here, kind of, where the eyebrow hairs are a bit sparse. And I'm just going to start brushing the pencil across from there until it hits that decline area that we just drew before. So you can see the lines continuing from there into that decline area. Now the angle's a little bit sharp for my liking, so I'm just going to round it a bit more gently, like that. Now this one here has got a lot of sparse areas, so I'm probably going to start a bit more further down. I don't know why that is, but it's almost like I've got a bald spot there in my eyebrow hairs. It really drives me crazy. And I've just realised one thing I've forgotten to do, eyebrow gel. But we'll get to that in a minute. So you can see there we've got that rise, we've got our angle, and then we've got our decline. Now what we're going to do is we're going to actually start from this middle line, because that just helps me to match them up and make them look like they both belong on my face, like, you know, that they're within the same region. So I actually like to start at this middle line here, and I just gently go towards that starting line that we drew right back in the beginning, and you can see the angle of the eyebrow. Now I'm going to try and join it up with the other side just so that they look like they belong together. Yes, I know it looks really weird and I know it looks like a monobrow, but once we get all the rest of the makeup on and at the end, like, all of this groundwork will have disappeared. So I'm just going to brush it through past the point of that starting line to where it joins up to where we've drawn the rest of our line, through that middle and off towards the end of the tail. Now that's going to be the baseline for everything else, like when we start filling in and all of those things. So that's that. I'll just come a little bit closer so you can see. Now what we're going to do is what I forgot to do earlier, brow gel. I usually do this right at the start, like after I've brushed them through with the eyebrow brush, but I just forgot today. I can do it now though. So this is just a clear eyebrow gel. You can buy coloured ones, but I just prefer to use the clear one because I'm adding other colour later on. So if I've already added colour and then I'm adding colour on top of that, it's just going to end up really dark and it's not going to look like it belongs there. So it's got a little tiny brush on it. Again, I just brush up from the start and I just keep brushing through until I hit this bit, and then I kind of start to angle it down a little bit like that, and it just keeps the eyebrow hairs really nice and lifted so that they don't go flat and then the eyebrows look really thin. So I'm just going to do the other one, and we're brushing up and then we start to angle, and I'm actually really happy with this shape today. It's looking good, but there's always room for me to stuff it up later on. Okay, I'm just going to take a couple of seconds for that to dry and set, and I'll be back in a little bit. Okay everyone, so our eyebrow gel has dried, our eyebrows are in place. So I'm going to go ahead now and start adding powder. There's a lot of eyebrow products out there. You've got pencils, you've got pomade, powder. I've used pomade in the past, I don't mind it. But recently I've been using eyebrow powder and I'm pretty happy with it. So I'm going to go and start with the darkest colour, and I'm going to start at the tail. So I'm just going to go over that line that we made with the pencil from the peak part to the tail end, and as you can see, I've already put a big blob on there. So yeah, that happened. That's a bit better, but you know what? It's not great. Anyway, we're going to move on. So now I'm going to start adding colour at the top as well. So again, I'm just putting the brush on that peak line that we drew. I've just extended it out, and then I'm just going to angle it down towards the tail so that they both join up together. So now I've got a shape like that, and then I'm just going to fill that in. I've got to use the mirror with the powder. I'm just using small strokes, and I'm just brushing it through the hairs until I get it how I want it to look, like that. And the other side, I can see a bit better on this side. Maybe it's because the light's shining on it a bit more. So there's that, and then we'll do the top part. Just like that. So we've got the tails on both sides that are done. This one needs a bit more, like that. Now I'm going to go towards the medium colour, and I'm just going to do that middle section. So I'm just going to start about halfway down, again following that line on the bottom, and just joining up with that tail piece that we've just done. And then on the top, I'm just doing it to that peak line. And then I'm going to fill in. I'm just angling the brush down so that we can kind of brush across the hairs. And I'm just brushing to the top of that line because we're going to be putting the light colour next to it in a minute. So as you can see, like I've brushed through that section, but there's like a gap there. We're going to fill that in with the light colour, and then when all of the powder's on, we're going to brush it all through together. So just do this one now. Well, that's a bit wonky, but doesn't matter. That one's good, the line's good, so I'm happy there. And just brushing across again. The reason I'm not pausing this time is because these steps only take a couple of seconds, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so we've got that. As you can see, that one's a lot thicker than that one, but I'll fix that up later. Now I'm taking the lightest colour that there is, and I'm not going to start at the start here because that'll just load too much product on, and we want it to fade off towards that side. So I'm going to start down here, and I've actually brushed it past that starting line a little bit, just because when we fade it with the brush later on, I don't know, it'll make sense later on, like you can kind of fade it a bit more if it's gone past the line, because like it starts to fade a lot, then a little bit, and then a little bit, and then it gets darker. It just increases. Now I'm going to do the top one only just to that finishing line. So you can kind of see that fade off effect now, like we've got dark, light. That's just how I do it. You know, a lot of people do it differently. And that's okay too. So I've just taken it a bit past that line. And now this one. Just making sure that I'm following the shape with the brush strokes. You know, where we increase and then decline. So I'm just brushing through now. But I'm actually brushing from the bottom to the top. And as we get closer to that finishing line, I'm just kind of keeping the brush on the bottom area because we want it to fade off towards that top. And I'm not adding any extra product because I don't want to load up too much colour into that fade area. See how you can kind of see how there's not as much colour and then it gradually gets more towards the back? So I forgot we've got to do this one too. So we're just brushing through there, fading off as we get towards the nose. Just like that. Okay, so when you're happy with the level of colour that you've got, we're going to take our eyebrow pencil that we had before, just wind that down so it doesn't break, and with the spoolie on the end. The spoolie is like a eyebrow brush like we used before, but it's actually circular. So now what I'm going to do to fade the colour, I'm actually going to start at the middle here and brush up on the powder that I've just put. You can see how it's kind of disappearing. That's what we want because we want it to fade gently as we get further along. So we want our most faded bit near the nose and the darkest bit towards the end of the eyebrow. So I'm just brushing it up, and you can kind of see how even those foundation lines now are disappearing. And then I'm just brushing it along the bottom edge just to fade all the different browns into each other. I'm not pressing hard because this is a mistake that I've made in the past. If you press down too much when you're brushing the colour, it kind of removes the colour, and you don't want that because you're going to have to fix it up and then fade it again, it's really frustrating. Anyway, so we're brushing up from the middle here, just like that. And then I'm just going to turn it around and I'm just going to brush through those hairs on the bottom there. You can add more brow gel if they're not sitting where you would like them to. But to me, I'm pretty happy with that right now. I'm just going to brush these ones over a little bit. Okay, so that's what we've got. Now, what I'm going to do, I like a really sharp defined line on the underneath of my eyebrows. So I'm just going to go back in with that little pencil that we used at the beginning. And I'm just going to like outline that bottom edge so that it's a bit more defined. And I'm just going to blur this top edge a tiny little bit more. And again, this is just what I prefer. Others might not want to do that. They might want to leave it. That's good too. You know what I mean? And it's at this point too that if the shape's not quite right, you can kind of fix it up a bit. So now we've got pretty much our eyebrows on. I'm just going to go in with a little bit of concealer just to like tidy up any stray pieces. And I've just seen another one of those annoying little hairs that are going to stick out of my eyeshadow later on. So that's got to go. Alright, so I've got my little angled brush here. You don't have to use an angled brush. You can just use a soft eyeshadow brush or something like that. I'm just kind of dipping it in. And I'm just going to start at that middle and just follow that line through so that the line is crisp and even. Because at the moment I can see there's a few little bumps in the road. That's cute, isn't it? A few bumps in the road. Make sure that I've got that nice line. And we can go and remove those little foundation lines a bit now too. And if it's not quite right, after I do my eyeshadow, I just go back with that pencil and make sure that the lines are nicely defined. So I'm just going to run it along that top now, just to make sure everything's like crisp and even. And I've just erased that foundation line too. And then I just go on the diagonal so that we've got a nice even slant on the top of that eyebrow. Next one, again, I'm just running it along that bottom edge. I'm just using short strokes so that I don't remove a lot of product, because that can happen and then you have to go back and fix up, and fixing up's never easy. And again, along that top edge, making sure that everything's crisp and even. And then angling it along that tail decline area. And we'll just go up this way to get rid of those lines. Thank you, Shenzi, for making a racket in the background. And don't bite holes in my shopping bags. Shenzi?
Yes, Shenzi.
Kittens. Shenzi? No. My God. Honestly. Okay. Now I'm just going to... Wow, look at that little shine on that brush there. That was cute, wasn't it? Shenzi? Knock it off, mate. Hello, this is Australia. I'm just going to go over with a little tiny bit more brow gel, because I just want these hairs here to stand up and flick out a little more. And they're just not cooperating quite as well as I would like, so I'm just going to do that. This one as well. And that's it. Eyebrows are finished. So what we'd normally do now is like go in with eye primer and all of that stuff and start eyeshadow. But I've got the cut crease video up, and then as I do other eye looks, I'll put those up as well. So as you can see, that's eyebrows. So our next video, haven't decided yet whether it will be another eyeshadow or whether it will be eyeliner and graphic eyeliner, but keep an eye out and it will be up within the next couple of weeks. Okay. So that's the eyeshadow. I've got eyeshadow on the brain today. That's the eyebrow tutorial video. Any questions about products or other things, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, Teagy, that's done. I have to upload it now, babe. Shenzi! Hey, Tegan, come and have a look what she's done.